me just start by saying that in this era of reboots, remakes, and reimaginings, and with a growing number of them being concepts nobody asked for and have subsequently failed miserably, I usually groan inside at the mere mention of another reboot attempt. However, in regards to Denis Villeneuve's Dune coming out at the end of this year, I couldn't be more excited. We finally have a project that fans want, and that desperately needs the remake treatment. I also feel like hardcore sci-fi fans need something to be excited over, especially those of us who are still recovering from the epic disappointment that is the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy. We need a franchise on the big screen that will capture our imaginations once more. Dune was begging for the big screen treatment, but unfortunately the first attempt in 1984 left a lot to be desired, and it ended up bombing big time at the box office. And it's not hard to see why. So why am I filled with excitement instead of dread over yet another reboot? Well, first, the source material in itself is a great work of literature. Initially released in 1965, decades later the Dune novels are more relevant than ever, and have long been regarded as one of the best in science fiction. Frank Herbert put years of research and effort into creating this universe so incredibly rich and complex, and with themes that have endured throughout time. This is a story that people can still relate to and connect with. The quality of the source material alone is basis enough for my excitement. I always thought Dune was so interesting in that yes, it's technically science fiction, but it is much more like fantasy. Yes, there is technology, but it's limited to a point. There is space travel, but how it is executed is very different than other sci-fi universes such as Star Trek. Space travel is a precious commodity and is only possible because of the spice that is found on one unique planet. And that was actually intentional. Frank Herbert specifically wanted to limit the technology aspect of his novel to explore humanity and how its institutions could change through the passage of time. So even though Star Wars was inspired by Dune, it definitely has far more in common with Lord of the Rings. I'm also encouraged by the director's comments regarding this project.
So it sounds like you will lean a lot more heavily on the book Dune versus the version that David Lynch did previously.
The thing is that there's a David Lynch did an adaptation in the 80s that has very strong qualities. I mean, David Lynch is one of the best filmmaker alive. I have massive respect for him, but when I saw his adaptation, I was impressed, but it was not what I had dreamed of. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to make the adaptation of my dream.
How do you think it will depart most dramatically from that version?
It will not be in any link with David Lynch movie. I mean, I'm going back to the book and find out going back to the images that came out when I read it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
He said that it's been a long-standing dream of his to adapt Dune. So the fact that this is very much a project he's passionate about gives me hope that he'll do his best to honor the source material in bringing this story to the big screen once again. I'm also excited that this movie is being attempted now, in 2020. Movie-making technology has come a long way since 1984, and to really do the movie justice, they'll need to create epic visuals to truly immerse us in the world of Arrakis, with its epic landscapes and monstrous sandworms. I am pumped. They have this incredible story to work with, and they have the technology to bring this vision alive. One complaint I've had regarding many visually impressive movies such as Avatar and the Star Wars sequels is that the source material for the plot and the screenplays was just not there for those movies. And while they certainly made money, in my opinion they ended up relying too heavily on the visual effects, and the stories came across as lazy and weak. When you are creating from source material that is already well respected and beloved, like Kevin Feige was able to do with the Infinity Saga, or like Peter Jackson was able to do with The Lord of the Rings, what results can oftentimes prove to become an epic masterpiece that will stand the test of time. I certainly hope Warner Brothers will be able to do this epic fantasy world justice. Another reason I'm excited for Dune is because of the casting choices, my favorite being Josh Brolin cast as Gurney Halleck. During filming, he was posting these little video clips of him while he was in Jordan, and you can tell he was so excited about being there and about the project itself, and it's contagious. You should check him out.
And here is it. Man. Beautiful. Peaceful, quiet, ominous.
But yeah, great choice for the warrior/weapons master of House Atreides. Duncan Idaho was one of my favorite characters, and I'm really excited to see Jason Momoa portray him. He actually shaved his beard for this. My favorite role of Jason Momoa's was obviously Stargate Atlantis, but I'm biased as Stargate is another one of my top science fiction favorites. But with his recent Aquaman beard, I was beginning to forget what his face looked like. For the main character of Paul Atreides, I'm particularly interested to see Timothée Chalamet's performance. I've only seen him in the movie Interstellar, though he was also nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for his performance in Call Me By Your Name, but I'm not sure you can put much stock in the Academy these days. I think Zendaya could be a good choice for Chani, though again she's relatively unknown to me. I've seen her as Mary Jane in the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I think that's it. And to be honest, her performance doesn't stand out that much to me in those movies, so this leaves me feeling a little nervous about these choices, but it's probably just because I haven't seen them in much. There's also Oscar Isaac, who has been cast as Duke Leto Atreides, and Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica. They seem like decent actors, so I'm not very nervous about their ability to fit into these roles. But considering I really like all the other casting choices, then I'm hoping they'll do very well in these performances, and I look forward to seeing how these characters interact. In regards to the villains, Stellan Skarsgård will play the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, famously in the Marvel movies as Dr. Selvig. Dave Bautista will be playing his nephew, Glasso Raban. I loved him as Drax, of course, and I think he can definitely play this part. So overall, I think these are good choices as well. Stellan actually had some very interesting comments regarding this movie.
It's fun when you get one of those big sci-fi movies, and it's going to be directed by a true filmmaker. It's not going to be directed by the studio, and they it seemed like they were giving him pretty free hands, and you have to, because his personal stamp on the film is paramount for the success of it.
I think this is a good sign to see that these actors are so excited for this film and grateful to be a part of it. Throughout the Star Wars sequel trilogy, we gradually saw the signs of how the actors truly felt about the trilogy, and how disappointed they were with how it went, and how glad they were when it was over. This was the case particularly on the part of Mark Hamill and John Boyega.
I told Brian this, it's no surprise. I said, I just fundamentally disagree with your concept of this character and how you use him. Now, having said that, I'll do everything within my power to realize your vision. Because, it's not my character to decide. It belongs to other people. They just rent it out to me.
But the excitement on the part of the cast for the new Dune movie gives me hope that this project is something that is going to be very special. Another reason why I'm super excited for this film is because of the initial reactions of some of the preview footage that a few insiders have been able to see. In an article from We Got This Covered, it mentioned sci-fi novelist Brian Clements was one of the few that got to see this footage, and it says that in a series of tweets, the writer was all praise for what he saw, describing the footage as epic and hailing the cinematography as beautiful. What really stood out to me was one particular tweet. Clements stated, "As a follow-up regarding my opinion on the new Dune based only on the footage I saw, since people are curious, I think this will blow people away the way The Lord of the Rings did 20 years ago, the way Star Wars did 40 years ago. It's not Jodorowsky or Lynch, but maybe Villeneuve has filmed the unfilmable." Yes, he compares it to Lord of the Rings and the original Star Wars trilogy. That is certainly high praise, and it's not said lightly, I'm sure. I have no doubt that this movie will look amazing, and they certainly have very powerful source material to draw from. So I feel that if they stay true to that, this movie could indeed be the next Lord of the Rings. We'll see. I hope this remark by Brian Clements isn't overstating or exaggerating what he saw. Seriously, we need this. They better not mess it up. For the time being, I'm very hopeful and excited as new details come out about the film, and I will of course share my opinion as we get more information on this project. Be sure to let me know your opinions on the new Dune movie as well in the comments. Also, be sure to leave a like if you're also excited for Dune. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.